Yo, 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 1 2 1 2, mic check. Yeah, big up everyone. Shout out to Lady Spade. I did see you in the chat. Sorry about the delay. Yeah, it's about to go down. Shout out to everyone out there that's, trying to live life and keep a clean heart and the rest of it. I hope you all had a good day. Hope it ain't been too stressful a week for you, but it's Friday. Oh, Lord. Yeah, we about to get it. It's Friday, baby. Yeah. Hey, let me talk for a second about this racism thing. So, obviously, to everyone who's seen the title, you should know what the show's about. The right wing, the left wing, I think it's the left wing, Let me just make sure I'm right about this. Do you know like that? Whatever wing them want go down them dead. Make sure so them know. Whichever wing they want to touch, they're dead. It don't matter. Trust me. Yeah, we've done this on many channels now, But what we find is every time we try to point the information out to the racists and try to break down why what they're saying is nonsense, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to take the information in. They want to mix it up. They want to get confused. They want to talk over people. They just don't have behavior in general, to be fair. So, I spoke to my brother Peniros, and I said, I'm going to do a little show just to break down some of the information that's been shared. A lot of it's been shared with you lot already, but I don't think it's been shared and streamlined in a way where you can really take it in properly. So that's what we're going to do right here, right now, today. We're going to get this today. They're going to get this work. Yeah, they thought they was going to escape. There's no escape. You can't hide anywhere. Yeah, you're going to get this work today. And we're going to keep it nice and clean too. We ain't going to be doing no swearing. If anybody does feel like jumping on the panel at any point, this is Peniros, man. This is a different type of panel. So there's no swearing, there's no cursing, there's no ad hominem, there's no going at people. If you got something to share, you got some valid information, something valid to say, I'm all ears. I'll happily let you on the panel. But if you ain't got something sensible to say or to talk about, and you can't control your swearing and you can't talk properly, then basically I'm just not allowing you on the panel. I'm definitely not allowing no racists on the panel. I'm not allowing anyone to come on here and do any kind of foolishness. Yeah, so just make sure everyone knows that if you're here because we're serious. We know what we're talking about. We know what we're focused on. We're talking about racism. We're talking about left wing. We're talking about what's the other thing? Aryanism. We're talking about Aryans and Germans and Nazis, Sieg Heil, all of it. We need to put an end to it. Because a lot of these guys, they really believe in this stuff. They really think there's some truth to it. I've heard a lot of racists talking about white people have got bigger brains. They made the world civilized. They civilized everyone else and taught them languages. And, their first language is Aryan. When I then looked into the history of their Aryanism, it just got weird. It's even weirder. So what I've done as well for today, I found some good videos to help, ease the blow a little bit, because I know I can ramble on and I can talk long for, as long as I want, really. But I'm not going to do that today. What we're going to do, we're going to get this information. We're going to play a few videos. We're going to narrate them a little bit. But most importantly, I'm just going to let you lot absorb the information. I've got the right timestamps. I've got everything panned out for you. And we ain't going to be here all night neither. This ain't no all day thing. So if you don't get this work now, get the work later. Like that. Exactly like that. Furthermore, if you don't get this work now, get the work later, because it's going to be uploaded. So you can go back and watch. It's not a problem. So without further ado, I think what I'm about to do is I'm going to go into our first screen share. So let's get the first share up so we can get into something. I wonder, what has Shiffa got in store for you? Don't make me laugh. Alright, I think where we're going to start, we are going to start with Aryans. That's what we're going to start with. Yeah, because all of these racist people, the Nazis, the KKKs of the world, the BMPs, all of these people, one of them biggest arguments they have yeah, is that they're better than everyone else. And the reason they're better than everyone else is one, because they got a bigger brain than everyone else, which we know that's a lie. So once we worked out that that was a lie and broke that down for them, they had to come up with a new lie. So they said, but we're the master race, we're the Aryans, everything comes from us. So we had to break that one down for them. We had to go into it a little bit. Okay, master race, where did you Aryans come from? So I started looking, digging, and then I found this. This is where they're coming from. So I'm not even gonna go too deep. I'm just gonna play the video. I'm gonna let a bit of it play. I know you guys are in the chat. If you got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I'll happily read out your questions and try and narrate it as best I can. But we're gonna start with this Aryan thing first. That's the first spell we're gonna get rid of. We're gonna counter today. Yeah. So anyone who thinks they're Aryan or thinks you come from an Aryan race, this is what you're dealing with. Yeah. Fantasy, absolute fantasy. In fact, we're talking about, look at the title, Atlantis and the Aryan. Where are they going with this? Atlantis, yeah? This is theoretical stuff. This isn't real. There ain't no such place called Atlantis. Has anyone ever been there? You ever heard of it? Now, I'll be honest with you. I've heard of Atlantis before. I've heard of it. And I heard of it in like some Greek references. I've heard of other cities, submerged cities, but as far as there being a real Atlantis, like maybe underwater people living underwater and stuff like that, I would never claim something like this. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let this video play, and you guys will see what I'm talking about. You see where I'm going with this. This is gonna be funny. Why can't I get the right page? What's going on there? All right, here we go.
Dear friends, good evening and thank you for joining us once again this week. This night we have for you the topic of Atlantis, and it's Atlantis and the Aryan race.
This guy sounds very German as well. So out to all the German guys, maybe this is what they teach in German schools. I don't know, but that's what he sounded like to me. He sounded like one of those type of Europeans. So let's keep.
Because there have been many different humanities walking the face of the earth. And it so happens that it has been Atlantis. And the Atlanteans, the ones who populated this planet before we all had the opportunity to get here. And Samael tells us in the Christmas message that he delivered in the Christmas of the year 1967 to 1968. And he said, the existence of Atlantis has been thoroughly demonstrated by the true wise ones who have every now and then walked amongst us. And there have been many discoveries that speak about these very same findings. But let's not go into what people have discovered yet. And let's not go into documentaries and books because we know that the mind is really, really good at making comparisons, at playing with the thesis and the antithesis. So let's go ahead and start by reverting ourselves, taking ourselves backwards in time, and let's see many different commonalities that we find around the world. And we can start with the Maya and the Greek cultures. If we may stand corrected, and this is a correction that we're going to make here in this material, the Aztec and the Greek cultures. And you will see that among the Greek, we have this particular individual called Atlas. And Atlas is a very fine character that characterizes himself because he carries the load or the weight of the world in his shoulders. But this is something that manifested at some point in time on the other side of the hemisphere around the Mediterranean Sea. Opposite, in the other side of the world, what we see is that among the Aztecs, we have Atlanteotl. And just like Atlas, Atlanteotl is also carrying the weight of all of the oceans in his shoulders. And Atlas is certainly a very corpulent man. He is, for all purposes, a perfect man. We may call him a superman with his power to be able to maintain that world in motion. And on the other hand, Atlanteotl reflects those very same attributes of the Superman. Because as we observe him, we can see that he is dressed for battle. He is
So I hope everyone's listening closely and intently. Did you hear the reference there, the Superman reference? Like, what's all that about? He's got the whole world. No, he ain't. I don't know about that.
dressed with his divine garments. And those garments, they're made of the feathers of eagles. By now, you have heard in our many different lectures that the eagle is always a symbol of the forces of the cosmic Christ. Just like when we see birds, the birds are always associated to be some symbol of the forces of the Holy Spirit. And we see that in his face, he is wearing a mask. And this mask is exaggerating the size of his nose, just as it is exaggerating the size of his mouth. And that is because he has attributes of the god of wind and motion. Among the aspects, that god is Ehecatl. So
All right. So now we're getting this. So first and foremost, let's just break down some of this. So these Aryans, this is what they believe in, yeah? These Nazis, this is their belief system. These same Nazis that call themselves Christian. You see where I'm going with this? Think about what you're seeing on your screen. Yeah? These Nazis that call themselves Christians, talk to me. This don't make no sense. It don't make no sense whatsoever. Because they pray into Atlas. You know, they talking about Atlantis. You know, so let's make sure that, you know, if you didn't hear it, I'm just going to narrate it for you a little bit. So basically, what you're looking at on your screen right now is some type of god or demigod, what they call Atlas. Yeah. So this Atlas, yeah, he's got the whole world in his hands. You know, he's all powerful to these Aryans. You know, that's their god. But they talking about Christian. Yeah. They talking about God fearing people and Aryanism and Christianity and Jesus. Really? Like, really? Dude, really? Like, what's going on? Talk to me. Let's play a little bit more.
so he is carrying the weight of those waters. And notice that there are five distinct symbols sustaining those waters. Depending on how you look at that, those could be seashells that have been sliced in half. Those could also be flowers. Allow your level of being to show you the symbol.
You hear
In
how
this
proud this
case,
guy is as
those
well.
open seashells, they speak, of course.
I'm just about done with this foolishness still. I think there was one more bit that I wanted to show you. But other than that, I'm about done with that foolishness. Do you know that? What more do I need to show you? These God-fearing Christians and their blasted Atlantis, Atlas, that. Hey. So you know when you get a map, when you buy the old road maps, that's what it's called, isn't it? Atlas. Remember that? Is it? Let's see what they're saying. Hold up.
And this is important that we see it. Plato, also a great thinker amongst the many other thinkers that have walked the face of the earth, uh, Plato spoke of Atlantis in his work called the Timaeus. And he spoke of Atlantis by referring to it as the empire west of the Pillars of Hercules. Those Pillars of Hercules are associated with an area that exists close to the Strait of Gibraltar. And west of that, well, we have the vastness of the Atlantic Ocean. So the Atlantic Ocean carries the very name of this race that
All right, you see what this idiot did right there? He says, "Oh, listen to this foolishness," and that's why you have to listen to what these people are saying sometimes. The guy says that Plato records this Atlantis place being somewhere west of the Pillars of Hercules. So it must all of a sudden be in the middle of the ocean, huh? Talk to me. Is that the only thing west of the Pillars of Hercules, or is there more things west? Maybe a bit more southwest. Do you know, like that? Like this foolishness. And this is what Arianism is based on. Foolishness. You know, a guy who was a great thinker. He wasn't a scientist. He didn't know anything. He was just thinking. How you know he wasn't making it up? How much other things did Plato make up? About that, ladies and gents. I'm not sure what happened there. The signal went a bit dodgy for a second, but we're back. So don't watch nothing, but just remember what you heard, innit? Remember the foolishness that these racists are basing their whole entire existence upon. So I remember every single time also that a racist, which kind of hat list you talk about? Coming on a hat list as God. Aye. Me no know him as the most high. Me no about hat list as some creature we have in our museum or some kind of statue. Me no know about no God. Because that statue does not move. Alright. So make sure you get it right. Alright, don't make me laugh. Alright, let me go back to my normal British accent so it's nice and clear for you. So basically, you know, they worship in an ancient Greek god or Roman god, whatever it is, you know, and they like to see themselves in a particular way. But it's not real. It's all made up. But they really want to convince people that it's real. So let's go to the next screen share so we don't waste too much time. Cause I ain't got all day for this, to be fair. But we're going to... Yeah. So, another argument that the racists like to come up with is they want all or majority of the black and foreigners or whatever out of their country. They want to keep it majority white. Yeah. Their reason for this is that, you know, they don't want their race or their color to be extinguished or whatever it is they're scared of. You know, it's never going to happen, but they're scared of it. The other reason for this is that they have a right to the land. It's indigenously theirs. They're the indigenous people of this land and all this crap that they come up with. But none of it makes any sense. So what we did was we asked some of the racists. We said, all right, if you want all of the black people to leave England and all of the, you know, foreigners to just leave, all right, what about your foreigners in other countries? Are you taking all of them back? Hear their argument. No, we can't take them back. They've been there too long. I said, yeah, listen, hey, let me just pause, composure, yeah. And there's no need for that type of language, but you know what time it is, isn't it? So, yeah, they said they've been there too long. I said, okay, well, if they've been there too long, how long have black people been in the UK? Have they been in the UK longer than British invaders have been in America, for instance? They was like, no. I was like, well, okay. I said, well, have they been in the UK longer than the South African invaders? you know, or the Australian invaders, or any of your invaders that you don't want to take back. What, the Canadian ones? I don't know. Where else are they? Hey, listen, let's get into this. So basically, what they're basically saying is they've been in Africa since about the 1700s, maybe late 1600s, 1700s. That's their story that they're trying to stick to. Yeah. So for that reason, you know, in fact, their settlement as far as South Africa ain't even that long. Like, to be fair, I think that might be like 1800s if I'm right. I should pull it up, but I'm not going to because I don't want to waste time. But the bottom line is, they've been there longer. Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gents. I hope we're back now. Let me just check this quickly. Yeah. Sorry about that. I think there was some kind of failure with the internet because it just literally it died. There was nothing I could do. But yeah, sorry. I hope he wasn't waiting too long. I think it was about maybe 60 seconds or so. So I do apologize. And we're just going to get straight into this second video that I got ready for you guys. And just a quick reminder, you know, the argument now, the second argument is that the white people in South Africa, in America, in Australia, and all the places that they've conquered or migrated to have been there longer than any of the black people have been in Europe or Britain or whatever their argument. Yeah, sorry about this, people. I don't know what is happening around here today, but the internet is playing up. So I do apologize again. It looks like we got it sorted now, so I'm just, with no further ado, I'm gonna run straight into this video. All right, let's get the screen share going. Give me 2 seconds. All right, here we go. To be fair, I had to reset the router, so I'm sorry if there was a slight delay there, but it had to be done. All right, without further ado, let's make sure we got the right video. All right, here we go. All right, so let's break that down a little bit. So we're talking about Victorian, Elizabethan. We're going back that far, you know, like 1700s, you know. So let's get. So check the timestamp, 14, whatever it was, to 1603. Yeah, that's pretty far back, in it. That sounds like quite a while before the British colonized in America, to be fair, but let's continue. Woo! I had to pause there for a second. So what he's basically saying is these Black Britons who were in, you know, Britain from when was it? He was like talking like Tudors and Stuarts and stuff. You know, we're going way back. We're going back into like 1400s, maybe as early as. And you know, these people have been amalgamated into the population, which means a percentage of these people here that call themselves white, you got black in you, like to some extent. Just in case you didn't know, and you were a racist yourself.
Vast majority of, you know, that he got in the center as he comes back. Then now, here it is in the nation. Now, as I said, I quoted that quotation to you. Here it is in written form to illustrate to you how this terminology has continued through the ages. Now, the period from 1485 to 1603 is somewhat of a holy grail as regards English or British history. It is a period in which there has tended to be a representation which is monoethnically white. This is a representation of the Westminster Tournament Law of 1511, showing John Blank in the center as he comes back from the celebrations. Please note that he is wearing a turban, a green turban laced with silver. In the earlier representation, he's shown wearing a brown turban.
I'm glad everyone can hear now. Thank you for the help.
We know, for example, he was paid as a royal court trumpeter. We know that he got married and he was awarded a purple gown, but we don't know what happened to him after about 1511, 1512. He is not, however, typical of the population of people in Tudor England. The of that population lived amongst them married into their white English communities, got married and buried in English parishes along with everybody else. This is why the history of these people
Yeah, sorry about this, people. The signal is just really bad here today. I don't know what's going on. I know they're doing some street works and stuff, so maybe they're putting in the new 5G right now. Sorry about this, people. The signal is just really bad here today. Am I echoing? All right, let's sort that out. So yeah, let's finish off where we were in that video. I do apologize again. Unfortunately, you know, sometimes these things happen, so I just hope everyone didn't get too bored and run away. But either way, like I said, you can watch it back, so I'm gonna just get straight back into it. All right, here we go. Make sure I got the audio up. Okay, here we go. We'll go back a few seconds as well.
People of African descent was Mary Phyllis of Morosco. She was 20 years old when she got baptized in St. Botolph without Aldgate parish. In St. Botolph without Aldgate, that parish had a population, according to my research, of about 5% people of African descent. This parish was an unusual parish in that it was remarkably multi-ethnic. More than half of that population consisted of people who were non-native, non-English born, including Sephardi Jewish immigrants, people from what is now Italy, other Spanish and Huguenots from France, Protestants from what is now the Netherlands or Holland, and Protestant refugees from other parts of Europe, as well as the occasional Native American who had come from what is now North America. So these people populated the St. Botolph without Aldgate parish, which was a very large parish in London. These Africans also represented about 4% of the population in what is now Bishopsgate. And they represented a significant population in Stepney. There were also a significant African population in Southwark. And in a place called Cheapside in London, an African Moorish needlemaker is remembered in 15th, 16th, and early 17th century English literature as having an art for making steel needles and refusing to teach this art to any. In fact,
okay, so here we have another piece of information that the racists obviously don't know, because they like to talk about black people didn't invent nothing, they didn't create nothing, they can't do nothing. But like you just heard, you know, there was a guy black guy, African, Moor, whatever they called him, lived in a place called Cheapside in London. And guess what he used to make? Steel needles. Yeah. And guess what? They wanted him to teach them how to make them, but he refused. So that means he was the only person who knew how to make them. Check that one out. Yeah. A black man in England is the only person who knows how to make something. But they taught us everything, right? All right, let's get back into.
He is remembered as being the first person to bring steel needle making to England. And he's remembered throughout the 15th, 16th, and early 17th century before disappearing after 1660. Because
check another thing as well, that all of these black people, all of these well-to-do, you know, probably could have been looked upon as upper-class black people. They just disappear. How do these people just disappear? It doesn't make no sense. First, it's the guy that was the trumpeter. Yeah, he disappeared. And this guy, the needle maker, disappeared. So who took over? Good question, isn't it? So let's keep going. He probably was an Israelite. Out to 12 tribes of Israel. No, hey, we're going to get some more of that later. Don't worry, bro. I got you. Let's get this.
It becomes unpalatable to have somebody peppering English history and being so significant. This is a wonderful painting by Gilbert Jackson showing the daughter of Florence Pollitt and Thomas Smythe, 1640 or 1640 thereabouts. Now, for a long time, I looked at this image and couldn't make sense of it because my 21st century mind, influenced by the science of race and post-colonialism and everything else, whilst claiming to be so enlightened, in fact, isn't. And for a long time, when I looked at this image, I couldn't understand until I did more research on the Pollitt family and the Smythe family. The ancestors of Thomas Smythe include an African woman. And the descendants of the Smythe family include people of African and European descent. These African Europeans continued from the 1560s into the 1640s. And then I began to understand that this picture was not a picture of a servant or servile person, but in fact could be the picture of two members of the same family. So the population of people of African descent in Tudor society are not just to be found in London. The second largest population was in Plymouth, and the third largest population was in Bristol, with very large, significant populations in places such as Exeter, Barnstaple, and Nottingham, Norfolk, in Lanarkshire and Edinburgh, in Scotland, towns such as Powys in what is modern day Wales. And this population is to be found throughout England, not just the south of England, but throughout England, but not in the places where we might think if we were using a post-colonial mind. I found very few people of African descent during this period in Manchester because Manchester was a small town.
All right, so I think that's enough of that video now. So we should all learn from this video that in post-colonial England, there was a lot of black people here. Yeah, post-colonial, before colonization. Yeah. So what's their problem then? What's their problem then? If the ethno-brats and the racists say that, you know, there's the white people that have gone to America and all of these places they've colonized, there's, you know, they've been there too long now. You can't expect them to leave. Well, guess what? Black people been in England long before that. You know, by this account, you know, we're talking hundreds of years before that. Do you feel where I'm coming from? So what is the argument then? It's a false commodity. Yeah, it's just a false economy. Yeah, I think I got it right that time. But long story short, it just don't make no blasted sense. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna move on from that one now. We're gonna move on to the next video, because I think it's all well and good, you know, showing us a few black people here and there, you know, a few little pictures, and you know, saying that there was loads of black people all over England and stuff. But sometimes people just want to see some hard evidence. You know, they want to see some hard evidence. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with some hard evidence now. Some stuff that might be a bit shocking, because I don't think a lot of people know this kind of stuff here, you know. So the first one I'm going to do, in fact, I'm going to do them the other way around, because I think some people have seen that other video, but we're going to do, I've got a different video that I don't think any of you have watched with me before. So let's do this. Let's get this one up. Screen share, please. Yes, sir. All right. We are going back to Chrome tabs. And we are going in. You ready for this? You ready? I hope you are. Because we about to get this right here. You're about to get this work. Oh, shoot. Let me make sure I'm at the right point in the video.
I'm going to read you a quote from a letter from Queen Elizabeth I in the year 1596. The letter was sent to Lord Mayor of London and to other mayors and sheriffs of different towns.
All right. Did you hear the date? 1596. So we gone way beyond the 1700s, you know, and slavery in those days. We going back to 1596. This is before the 1600s. Yeah, and this is a letter by Queen Elizabeth I. I'm going to rewind that back for you guys just so you can hear it again for yourselves. So you know I'm not playing games. This ain't nonsense. Now listen.
1596. The letter was sent to Lord Mayor of London and to other mayors and sheriffs of different towns in England. It goes like this. Her Majesty, understanding that several blackamoors have lately been brought into this realm, of which kind of people there are already too many here, Her Majesty's pleasure, therefore, is that those kind of people should be expelled from the land, and for that purpose, instruction is given to the bearer, Edward Baines, to take 10 of these blackamoors that were brought into this realm by Sir Thomas Baskerville on his last voyage and transport them out of the realm. So what is this?
So yeah, long story short, this letter from Queen Elizabeth is telling this guy Baskerville, who is coming to the country with X amount of black people, whether they were slaves or whatever they were, that he needs to send some of them back because there's too many of those people here already. This is before the 1600s. They were saying there's too many black people here already, too many blackamoors here already. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same thing, but just in case people are confused, go look it up. So we was already here. Like, this is pre-colonization again. Like, let's go. Let's finish this up. Let's finish this up.
Let's tell you about blackamoors and their presence in England at this time.
One of the earliest recorded images of an African in Britain is a black trumpeter depicted on the Westminster tournament roll of 1511. This musician was probably from North Africa and was employed by both Henry VII and Henry VIII.
In 1601, Elizabeth I issued a proclamation in which she declared herself highly discontented to understand the great numbers of niggers and blackamoors which are crept into this realm, who are fostered and relieved, or fed, here to the great annoyance of her own liege people.
So check the terminology, and that's why I said some people might be offended, but you know, we have to go through some of this stuff. You know, she calling us niggers and black. Hold up. What's a nigger? Explain. Explain. I'm confused. I'm gonna rewind that back again because I thought that was funny. I thought it was funny.
Realm, who are fostered and relieved, or fed, here to the great annoyance of her own liege people, that want the food which those people are consuming, as also for that the most of them are infidels, having no understanding of Christ or his gospel. People that want, who are fostered and relieved, declared herself highly discontented to understand the great numbers of Negars and Blackamoors which are crept into this realm. Highly discontented to understand the great numbers of Negars and Blackamoors which are crept into this realm. Highly discontented to understand the great numbers of Negars and Blackamoors which are crept into this realm, who are fostered and relieved or fed here to the great annoyance of our own liege people that want the food which those people are consuming, as also for that the most of them are infidels, having no.
For everyone who wants to know where you find this letter, let's go back. Let's go right back. We're gonna go back, way back. All right, here we go. We're somewhere around here.
6. The letter was sent to Lord Mayor of London and to other mayors and sheriffs of. The letter was sent to court from a letter. I'm going to read you a quote from a letter from Queen Elizabeth I in the year 1596. The letter was sent to Lord Mayor of London and to other mayors and sheriffs of different towns in England.
All right, so out to Life Lover and anyone else who's interested, the book that he's got in his hand, if I can see it right, it looks like it's called Stay in Power. So I'd imagine that, you know, there are official copies of these letters that we probably ain't going to be able to get our hands on. But, you know, as far as seeing, you know, where the quote's coming from and, you know, where the letter was documented, it looks like the book is called Stay in Power. So that's, you know, a bit of research for everyone. Go and look up that book. I'm going to look it up myself now. Stay in Power. Why not? All right, let's get some.
It goes like this. Her Majesty, understanding that several blackamoors have lately been brought into this realm, of which kind of people there are already too many here, Her Majesty's pleasure, therefore, is that those kind of people should be expelled from the land, and for that purpose, instruction is given to the bearer, Edward Baines, to take 10 of these blackamoors that were brought into this realm by Sir Thomas Baskerville on his last voyage and transport them out of the realm. Issued a proclamation in which she declared herself highly discontented to understand the great numbers of Negars and Blackamoors, in which she declared herself highly discontented to understand the great numbers of Negars and Blackamoors which are crept into this realm, who are fostered and relieved or fed here to the great annoyance of our own liege people that want the food which those people are consuming, relieved or fed into this realm, contented to understand the great numbers of Negars and Blackamoors which are crept into this realm, who are fostered and relieved or fed here to the great annoyance of our own liege people that want the food which those people are consuming, as also for that the most of them are infidels, having no understanding of Christ or his gospel.
Does any of that sound familiar now? Think about this. Think about what I said earlier. You know, these God-fearing Aryans who like to call people infidel or, you know, heretic or whatever their language was in those times. Hold on. These God-fearing Aryans who worship Atlas. These God-fearing Aryans who come from Atlantis that now call themselves Christians and whatever else they call themselves. Like, is this real? Is this a joke? You know, these God-fearing Aryans who talk about, you know, too many blackamoors have crept into the realm. What do you mean too many blackamoors have crept into the realm? Negars and blackamoors, negars, or whatever on earth he said. I was a bit upset when I saw this, but I think we have to, you know, kind of look at the comedy side of it as well. How educated was this woman? This is the queen of a nation. How educated is she? You know? Like, this is the joke, because you think about this now, yeah? They're saying that these people have no understanding of the Lord, or they're heretics, basically. They're, you know, they're non-religious. It's funny that, you know, because were her actions very religious? Was her words very religious? You know? All right, I don't want to put any words in her mouth. We're just going to deal with what she said, you know. And I don't like the word negars and blackamoors, you know, creeping into the realm and stuff. It just don't sit well with me. So I'm going to just mute up for a sec and play you some more.
By the late 16th century, trade had opened up between West Africa and Britain, and Africans began to settle in Britain, becoming part of the population, especially in seafaring places like Bristol, London, Liverpool, and Glasgow. Black men and women made appearances in the diaries of Samuel Pepys and in 18th century portraits. Black sailors are recorded serving with Captain Cook on the Endeavour in 1768, and it's the seafaring Africans and Caribbeans who begin to feature in political and public arenas, often in the fight against slavery.
So when they talk about abolishing slavery, and you got some of these racist guys out there, even some of these guys who act like they're not racist, but they speak racist ideology. They might not even have a white face. They might have like a mixed face. They might be part Asian or, even, part black or something. But they're talking about, the white people were so good, they just let us go. They just abolished slavery. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me put some truth up in this. Let's go back. Have a listen again.
And public arenas, often in the fight against slavery. To seafaring Africans and Caribbeans who begin to feature in political and public arenas, often in the fight against slavery. Begin to feature in political and public arenas, often in the fight against slavery.
All right. So check what he's saying, and then look at, for instance, you got these people that call themselves the Moors, yeah? And they talk about Moorish law, the law of the Moors and all of these things. And they're talking about maritime laws. Yeah. We're talking about seafaring laws, like what more do you want? We can contrast the two histories together now and see, okay, maybe them people ain't really just chatting rubbish then. Maybe they really were, official in this realm, and all other realms and was never slaves, Maybe some black people were made slaves for, some hideous reason, which is yet to be revealed to us. Who knows? But, I just wanted to point that out, Not every black person was a slave, first and foremost. Some of them were captains and, or worked with captains on ships and helped them travel around the world and do things. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So these were people who were educated. We had a guy who was a steel needle maker. He was the only steel needle maker in the whole of London. And guess which part of London? They used to call it Cheapside. So in the poorest part, the Cheapside, you'll find the only man who could make the steel needles. Black man, not no white man, black man. But they taught us everything. Yeah. We didn't come here with our own stuff and teach them nothing. Yeah, we didn't know. Hold on. How come all of the people that come here and teach people stuff or bring stuff here that they could teach people but refuse to, like the needle maker refused to teach them how to make his steel needles because that was his business, isn't it? That's how he was making his bread and butter. But he disappears. Why does he disappear? You got this guy who's the trumpeter. And I hope you remember when I was playing the video a bit earlier and it says he comes back from a war or something and he's got this silver headdress. Or wherever he came back from, he had this silver headdressing on because the guy was like, he was making money. He was getting corn, There was a point where they weren't paying him enough. He went to the king. He said to the king, listen, I want a pay rise. He didn't go to, I don't know. He didn't go to the exchequer. He didn't go to the prime minister. He didn't go to the guy beneath. He went to the king. That's how big this guy's ego was. That's the kind of kahunas that he had. No one weren't playing with his money. I don't care if you're the king. I'm worth this. Pay me or goodbye. Simple. Yeah. So this shows you the power of black people even back then. It shows you the power of black supremacy even back then. Didn't kill no one. Didn't hurt nobody. What it done was it was just the best of what it did. So you had to pay it. You had to pay for that service. You can't have Ronaldo in your team without paying that money. You got to pay top dollar now. You can't have a Messi in your team. You can't have the best if you're not going to pay top dollar because it's the best. It's tried, tested, proven. That's what black supremacy is. And that's the difference. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a little bit more of this video. I'm going to skip to the next one because I don't want to keep you lot here too much longer.
Alauda Equiano was a sailor. In the year 1789, he actually wrote a book about his experiences and then toured the country giving lectures on the evils of slavery.
Jamaican sailor William Davidson became a radical political leader in the wake of the Peterloo Massacre in Manchester in 1812. He was a member of the radical group caught trying to overthrow the government in what was known as the Cato Street Conspiracy.
Unfortunately for him, there was a police informant in the ranks. So for his troubles, in the year 1820, he was hung first, then had his head chopped off at Newgate Prison, now known as the Old Bailey.
So this is the last point I'm going to make. So when they talk about, you know, slavery and lynching and KKK and all these things, where do you think these people got that idea from? What did the Old Bailey do? When the black people saw, you know, these Moors, yeah, these people who were seafaring people, whatever you want to call them, when they saw their brothers and sisters enslaved, because I've heard a lot of Americans say this. They say, well, the Moors were working with the white man. They deceived us. They sold us out. I'm not so sure, bro. Did anyone listen to what was just said there? These so-called Moors, you know, one of them got himself hung, drawn and quartered, yeah, murdered, because he was standing up for his brothers and sisters on the American continent, on the African continent. He was one of the first freedom fighters. Do you know who this guy is? Do we know his name? You know, you just heard it now. You didn't know his name before. Be honest with yourself. Let's not lie. You know, these are the kind of things that our kids need to be learning in school. Not Malcolm X every year. Not the same person over and over again till it's like Malcolm X is like some kind of god that they worship, or, you know, Martin Luther. None of these guys wanted to be worshipped like that neither. They just wanted change. That's what they wanted. So I don't think we should be worshipping people. We should just be looking at history for where it is. And, you know, we should be respecting the fact that, you know, people like this, you know, who don't get mentioned, stood up and was counted, dead, murdered. So you wonder why all of the people who came after him, what happened to them? What happened to Martin Luther? What happened to Malcolm X? You know, what happened to Bob Marley? Even though he's not really a political figure, but he takes a political stance in life and he's very famous. So when you look at that now, it just makes the whole thing mad. Yeah, but I'm going to play a little bit more for you.
Can you find the names and pictures of other prominent Black Britons of the 17th and 18th century? Just like today, back in the 1700s, the busiest trading areas of most British cities also had a high proportion of coffee houses. But the growth and popularity of coffee coincided with one of the darkest episodes in Britain's history.
This is a Jamaica wine house, but it used to be called the Jamaica Coffee House. At one time, coffee houses were very popular across the entire country, and people would go there to do business. They go there to invest in coffee, they go there to invest in sugar, they go to invest in people, and that's where they conduct their business. The question to ask yourself is, in your local area, are there any street names or buildings that have an African or Caribbean connection as far as their names concerned?
Around the financial or market areas of any town or city, you might still find evidence of those early coffee houses.
This is evidence of one in London. It's called Lloyd's Coffee House. There's many connections between Lloyd's Coffee House and African history. Lloyd's Coffee House used to be the headquarters for what is now Lloyd's of London, a massive insurance company. But Lloyd's of London began insuring slave ships.
With the growth in popularity,
So check that one now. I'm gonna leave that video right there. Okay, if anyone wants to watch the full thing, you can go back and watch it yourself. You can see the title, go type it in, go have a listen. Yeah. But when these people of England, of the UK, like to tell us stuff like, you know, slavery wasn't that lucrative, it didn't do that much for us. Hold on, did you hear what the man just said? We're talking big companies, Lloyd's of London and all these people, you know. How do you think they got rich? Yeah. And then when they so-called abolished slavery, they paid off the slave owners, the governments. Yeah, millions of pounds, hundreds of millions, if I remember rightly. So how was slavery abolished? It doesn't make sense if you're paying the very person who was imposing it. You know, you didn't pay the victims, you know, but then they want to talk about, black people always moaning that they need a handout and reparations. Hold on, no, it's your people them that was moaning they need a handout after they enslaved people, whipped, beat, and chained and murdered people, and made how much money off of their backs for free. And even after they released us from slavery, a lot of people don't know this. The slaves had to work for a certain amount of years after slavery ended for the slave owner. Yeah. For like some pittance. Yeah. Some baby food money. Yeah. And guess what they called that? They called it apprenticeship. I said, yo, when I heard that one, I said, nah, this has gone too far. Yeah. That's what they did. When the slaves got set free, they still had to work for the slave master for a period of time in something that was called an apprenticeship, where the slave master, even after being paid off for giving up slavery, could reap even more benefits off the back of these slaves. So it's no wonder, you know, the world is the way it is today, because maybe that's how they devised their plan of, you know, how to enslave everyone else. You know, but that's just my theory. You know, let's not get too deep into that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the next video now, because I ain't really got a lot of time left. And I want to make sure I get through all of this. So the next video we are going to go to is by a guy called Robin Walker. And I'm sure a lot of people saw this video before, but we're going to go back through bits of it again. Yeah, because the last time I watched this video, people went to talk over it. They didn't want to hear what the man was saying. So we're just going to go through some of the main points in this video right here. Let's do this right now. Here we go. All right, there we go. Mr. Walker. Let's get it.
Man. This is Kush University, and class is in session. And the author was Alfred J. Church. The book itself went through many, many editions. The one I have is the 1896 edition. And if we were to turn over the page and look what's there, I'm going to start from page 2, and we're going to get into page 3 of the book. And the author says, he has a section, Britain before the Romans. What does he say? The island was inhabited probably at this time, and certainly afterwards when we reached a historical period, by 2 races of men. Tacitus, writing about the end of the 1st century of our era, says that the physical character of the inhabitants of Britain differs much. One part of them, he speaks of these under the name of Silures, had dark complexions and for the most part curly hair. These he identified with the Iberians or inhabitants of Spain. The other part, he says, resembled the Gauls. They had red hair and were tall of stature. Now, if we analyze what Alfred J. Church has just told us, when the Romans came to Britain, there were 2 populations living here. One population was dark complexioned with curly hair, and the other population was presumably white with red hair. So who were these populations? I'm going to read on some more of what Alfred J. Church has. Caesar, of whom we shall hear more in the following chapters, writing about 1.5 centuries before Tacitus, gives testimony to much the same effect, that the interior of Britain was inhabited by a race which considered itself to be indigenous, the seacoast by another people which, in search of adventure or booty, had crossed over from Belgic Gaul. This people, he tells us, still retained the names by which its various tribes were known on the mainland. So Caesar is telling us that there are, again, 2 populations, an indigenous population and the Gaul population. The Gauls are who we would today call the Celts. And the reason why they had the names that they held when they lived on the European mainland is because that's where they originated. On the European mainland, they came to Britain, And there were already people living here, the Silures, and the Silures, we've already been told, are dark.
All right. So just to make sure everyone heard that right, yeah. When the Romans were conquering Britain, they recorded there being two different populations of people here. One very dark, curly hair, all of that, more than likely Afro, in my opinion. The other they refer to as Gauls, yeah. One they were calling this, I can't remember the word he used. It begins with an S, but I know he said they look like the people of Spain. And the people of Spain at the time period that he's talking about in Roman times would have been very dark and black. So we're getting into this. Let's just finish up real quick. Let him just make his points, and then we're gonna move on.
Dark complexions, and for the most part, curly haired. So that raises some obvious questions. How dark? How curly? Is this a reference to black people as we understand them today? Another thing that Alfred J. Church tells us is that this dark population looked like the Iberians, the people of Spain. But that's not the people of Spain today. That's the people of Spain 2,000, 3,000 years ago. A very different population. So you cannot imagine a modern Spaniard and think, oh, well, we're talking about modern Spaniards. We're not. We're talking about prehistoric populations of Spain. And the big question we still want to ask and answer is how dark and how curly? I came across another book called Prehistoric Remains of Caithness. And this book was written by Samuel Lang, who was an English MP. And it has an anthropological appendix called Notes on the Human Remains, written by a very learned anthropological professor, Thomas Huxley. And this book was published in 1896. So let's take a look at what's here. So I'm going to turn over.
So I just want to point out for everyone, yeah, the book he's talking about now is written by an anthropologist called Mr. Huxley. I can't remember the first name right now, but long story short, this is a decorated guy. It's not some black man just coming up with some theory. You know, this is part of the establishment that we call Britain. You know, it's one of their own, yeah, their own anthropologists, their own scientists. So let's hear what he says.
Over the page, and I'm going to quote from page 62. It says, unknown ages may have elapsed in a state of savagery too dense and animal-like to leave records, until some fortunate impulse from without or improvement from within raised the race to the level where they buried their dead in kists and raised tumuli and dwellings, at first simple and humble, but by degrees more massive and complicated, until at length the stone civilization culminated in such national monuments and temples as the circles of Stonehenge and Stenness. So according to Samuel Lang, the people responsible were originally savages, and then those savages improved their culture to the point where they built a stone civilization.
All right, so check what the white man's saying. Previously in Britain, before the Celts got here, you know, you had these savage people. And who the white people like to call savages? You know, it's like the word Indian. Do you know what the word Indian means? The word Indian actually means savage, which is kind of crazy that Indians accept that as, you know, or accept India as their country. But really, it's not originally called that. It's the white people came in and they was calling us savages. And another thing that a lot of people don't know is that the word Indian wasn't just used to refer to people of Asian descent. You know, it was used to refer to anyone who was seen as savage. Yeah, that's why you got people like what's the guy's name? Alexander the Greek. You know, he talks about going to conquer the Indies. I don't think he actually does it, But you know, as far as they was concerned, those are like savage lands because it was too black for them. They were scared. But let's get this, man. Let's get some more of this, and then we're gonna get out of this video real quick.
In Britain, monuments like Stonehenge, monuments like Stenness. On the same page, the same scholar Samuel Lang goes on to have a section called Type of Race. Who were the people who built this stone civilization? We read, the valuable memoir which Professor Huxley has been kind enough to subjoin places the anatomical facts fully before the scientific world, and it only remains for me to add a few general remarks. It is a most important and interesting fact that in association with these very rude and primitive remains, a type of human race should have been discovered, so savage and degraded as to present more resemblance to the lowest Australian than to any historical European race.
So check that one out there. Whoever said Aborigines in the chat, yeah, I did make the comment afterwards, yeah. And yeah, daughter of Zion, big up yourself, daughter of Zion, because you must have known what was going on in it. I don't know if you've seen this before. If you haven't, well done to you, because you know that was a great observation. So let's keep getting this. Let's get some more.
So as we're reading this, of course, many of us will shudder at the overtly racist language coming through from the pen of Samuel Lang, but let's not worry about that. He's just said the ancient Britons look like the Australian Aborigines, and that's a powerful piece of data because it's not very often that you see them presented as looking like the Australian Aborigines. But that is what the physical anthropological work of Professor Thomas Huxley concluded in 1896. And these Australian Aborigine look-alike populations were probably the dark, curly-haired Silures described by Tacitus and indirectly described from the time of Caesar. And so if we want to know who were these very ancient Britons responsible for building Stonehenge, responsible for building Stenness, we have it here. Present more resemblance to the lowest Australian, in other words, to the Australian Aborigine. Liberalism and scholarship, the Daily Mail. No paper is more bigoted and more right-wing. But let's read what it says. This is us. Earliest fossils of our species found in Morocco, and then we have the date of the article, are 7th of June 2017. And the article goes on to say the oldest human remains in the world were found in Africa, and they now think Morocco.
So let me just point out that, you know, like the guy said, this is the Daily Mail. This is a right-wing newspaper. What reason would the right-wingers have to favor anyone on the other side? It wouldn't make sense. They never do. So let's keep going.
Whereas previous scholarship said East Africa. Let's read what it says. The bones, about 300,000 years old, were unearthed thousands of miles from the previous record holder, found in fossil-rich Eastern Africa. The new discovery reveals people from an early stage of our species' evolution with a mix of modern and more primitive traits. And so Morocco then is a possible place where the human race evolved, but as they've said, these early humans did have some very ancient traits.
All right. So what he's basically saying there is that they found some new discoveries in Africa, in Morocco, which they believe could be the earliest or the oldest bones discovery that they've made. So they're saying now they believe that it's possible that that could be the first place where humans inhabited, you know, black humans at that. Obviously, there's still an argument for, you know, the east of Africa and other places possibly being where we started out from, but let's just move forward with this quickly. So
year-old Moroccan, and they showed the face, and this face needs to be seen. Let me put it like that. Then there's new evidence from South America. The Daily Mail, again, that bastion of liberalism. Again, this is 6th of June 2017. The article says, were Africans the first Americans? 3D reconstruction of 10,000-year-old caveman's face controversially challenges long-held theories about the first settlers.
So you hear that? Was that a 10,000-year-old caveman? Yeah. All right. So that's one. Yeah, that's one that they've done, and apparently they was expecting to see, Tonto, but they saw Mabuto. They was expecting to see Raj, but they saw Shiffa. I don't know. Hey, talk to me. I'm confused. But let's keep going.
So what the Mail is reporting on is new research into ancient America shows that the very first people there did not look like the Chinese, the Japanese, the Koreans. The very first people there were actually black people.
So when they say white people ain't racist and there's no racism in the world, hold on. Why on earth did they give our land to Tonto? That don't make sense. We have the proof, the anthropology, we have it all. Every piece of evidence that we need to make our case is there. So, why have they handed our land over to someone else and then kept the rest for themselves and acted like we don't have no claim? Like, people, I hope everyone's awake right now anyway. I'm going to keep playing.
And an even older find was found in Brazil. And a woman's skeleton was found, and it was reconstructed, and they call this woman Luzia. And they've subsequently reconstructed the images where you can see the hair, and the hair is interesting, and the hair tells a powerful story. And again, this hair needs to be seen. The 18th of February, 2019. And why Russia Today reported the article is because a documentary was made on who the first people in Sweden were. And that upset the alt-rightists in Sweden. And I'm going to read the title of the Russia Today article. And the article says, documentary about dark-skinned first Swedes sparks horror on Twitter. And if I was Swedish and I was an alt-rightist, I could imagine why it would spark horror. So if you now have the first people in Africa,
the man said horror,
Americas, the first people in Sweden. Well, Britain is also in Northern Europe. Who were the first people there? Well, the Daily Telegraph has an article called "The First Britons Were Black. Natural History Museum DNA Study Reveals." And then the research then went to Ireland, and there's an article that says, first Irish population had dark skin similar to Cheddar Man.
So check that one out. So anyone who wants to talk about, let's make Britain white again. No. If you want to ethnically cleanse Britain and give it back to the indigenous people, guess who was here first? Guess what the first population of Britain looked like? It was hella dark. It was black, baby. It was so dark, it was black. Imagine that. So, come on, man. Enough of this foolishness. They want to talk about, their people have been in South Africa and Australia and America for too long. How can you ask those people to leave? Excuse me, but you want us to leave? Let's think about this. So you're telling us to come off of our own land because you've been here longer than us, but you haven't been here longer than us. But we can't tell you to come off of our own land because we've been there longer than you. Don't it work both ways, or does it only work one way? Is that how white supremacy works? I'd like to think so, because then it's going to be less confusing to me, innit? then I'll just be able to understand what they're trying to do. They lie. That's all they can do is lie, 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 lie. Twalipa lie. One bag of lie. Yeah. Then they want to talk rubbish like they invented languages. They invented things. Hold up. Let's come out of this video. I think we've seen, in fact, hold up. Before we even do that, let's get a little bit more. One last, let him make one last point. I think we got one last point to get out of this. Let's just get the conclusion.
Of years later. Even here, they're not sure. This is what we read. Indeed.
All right, Dad, stop. Don't scroll past. There's a real...
Sorry about this, guys. You know how it goes. Adverts and that. All right, here we go.
Linguists believe Celtic spread thousands of years later. So we're not entirely sure whether these newcomers were Celts. But according to what we now know, it seems that there was a continuity of population from Cheddar down to the Stonehenge era. And if that's so, then the theory that Stonehenge was built by Australian Aborigine-looking populations seems to be solid. But again, I'm a firm believer that even more research needs to be done to prove the continuity of population.
All right. So to conclude, you know, there seems to be the majority of evidence seems to suggest that there looks like there was a continuity of black population all the way from Cheddarman up until the Stone Age or Stonehenge age, whatever you want to call it. You know, what the Europeans, they like to call it the hunter-gatherer period, you know, all the way through that. There was black population here. So how are you going to tell us we weren't here first? And where did they all disappear to? You know? Because they can't have all disappeared. They can't just be one Cheddar man and that's it. There must be something more to this story that they're not telling us. And I'm telling you, it's in them writings. The same way this guy's going through these books and finding things, that's where we're going to find it in some old book. We're going to find what they did. You know, some Roman documented it, like you just heard and saw for yourself. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into the last video. Yeah. Because, you know, these people who civilized us all and taught us all everything, you know, I got a few questions of my own, you know, because where does their language come from? You know, where did they get these ideas from? Where do they come from in general? You know, we know that, like, for instance, we just watched that last video. We know that the Celts were referred to as Gauls. Yeah, and I know that the Gauls, they're people that came out of Germany, sorry, they're Germanic. Yeah, they even took over Rome at some point. So, you know, maybe that's something for people to kind of look up in your own time. But without further ado, let me just get myself to the right part of this video. And we're going to get some of this, man. Yeah, we're going to get some of this today because it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for us to do this, man. People need to know this stuff. So, let's make sure we're at the right point. We're going to go from here. All right. Let me get the screen share buzzing for you lot. Hold on to your seats. All right. Here we go. Share audio to make sure you can hear it. All right, I'm gonna do this one pretty quick, so I'm not gonna keep repeating this one. I don't think it's as shocking, like it doesn't have shocking wording and stuff like that. So we're just gonna keep it real quick and short and sweet with this one. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Can I get a play, man? Play, man.
First meeting. Was it set up by middlemen along the coast of what is now France? Or instigated by explorers striking out anew? We simply can't say. Yet, the evidence of these Iron Age wanderers showing up in the archaeological record is indisputable. In fact, evidence of Semitic travellers from the Levant has also been found all along the seashores of the Mediterranean and beyond. cutting a path all the way from the Levant to Britain. But why?
Out to my Israelite brother, you like what I did right there, innit? They hate this video, you know. And the thing is, I have to play this one, yeah, because the guy who's narrating it, you know, he's a British man, isn't it? He's, you know, your average white guy. So, you know, he's one of theirs. They can't act like we're cheating. You know, like that. We didn't just get some black guy to make some stuff up, because they always like to talk this rubbish. You just want to steal people's history. No, bro. This is your own people telling you the history of this place that you call home. Yeah, for all the ethno-brats and racists out there. Have a listen.
Had they come this far north, past the Pillars of Hercules into the wild Atlantic?
And imagine what he said, yeah? He says, how did they come this far north, past the Pillars of Hercules? Remember the video earlier? And the man's talking about Atlantis being past the Pillars of Hercules. Yeah, he says to the west. Now, although this video, he's talking about them going north, they're going northeast, because they're coming from the southwest of where they're going to. You feel where I'm coming from? So could that just been Plato calling, you know, the Middle East Atlantis? Could it have just been that? Probably, because I don't see no Atlantis on the map. Do you? Anyway, let's go.
Well, we do know the answer to that one. The evidence for it can be found all over the peninsula. Tin. An especially rare and sought-after metal, one of the main components in bronze making, and a commodity that's still mined here today. Indeed, the very name of Britain itself may have derived from the one that these wanderers gave the island. Baratanak, meaning land of tin.
So check that out. Yeah, these people who came here first. Yeah. These people who came after them, yeah, called Phoenicians, yeah, basically are the ones who named the place. It weren't the people that we heard about before, you know, like Cheddar Man and them. It weren't them that named the place. And if it was them, then they was part of these people. Because listen to what the man's going to tell you now, yeah? Bratanak, yeah, land of tin. That's where the name Britain comes from. Here's some more of this. Like they even named their own country.
However, if those seafarers did write histories of their voyages, none have survived to the present. All of their writing having disappeared along with the parchment it was written on.
All right. Once again, every time we got prominent black people in history, all of a sudden everything disappears. All of their writings disappear. Why does it disappear? One, because it's being whitewashed, and two, because they couldn't allow they didn't want people to know the truth, innit? You know, they couldn't allow their racism to be so easily undone. So they had to hide the truth. Come on. You know, like these people, everything they said about themselves, their whole story is now in someone else's hands who's telling us their version. So they're giving us back our history. You know, we don't own it. They own it now. They've got it. And they can put whatever they want in there and say what they want about it. But ultimately, you know, you're always going to get the anthropologists and the scientists. And, you know, some of these guys are honest guys. They just want to know the truth. So the information has to come out. You can't hide forever. Let's go.
In order to explore their story, we must turn to later writers. As early as 445 BC, Herodotus speaks of the British Isles as the Tin Islands.
All right, remember that name. Herodotus speaks of these islands as the Tin Islands. Hear what Herodotus has got to say now.
Or Cassiterides. The Greek explorer Pytheas of Massalia, writer of the now lost earliest account of the North Atlantic, mentioned the tin trade, as does Polybius and Diodorus of Sicily. It's even been argued that this trade existed as far back as 1500 BC.
So now we're going back to 1500 BC. So technically, the other guy, in the other video, what's his name again? Robin Walker. Yeah, he's talking about people that were 3,000 years ago when he's talking about Cheddarman and them people there. And that's why I made the reference, because I want to see who's counting the years. We're going back to 1500, as early as 1500 BC. If we're in the year 2020 now, take away 2020, and add that to your number. Yeah. Then add another 1500. Are we going back 3,000 years now? Are we there? Have we reached that period of time? Yeah. So now we can see some consistency in what this man's saying, innit? Think about it. Yeah. If you're smart enough, you'll know.
But who were those wanderers? Of course, they were the Phoenicians. Some of the most successful traders in history, often called the first true seafarers of Europe, and often credited with the first true alphabet.
So check that one out. Another argument that the white people like to make, the racist people, white people, the racist white people, what they like to say is that black people never went nowhere. They never built boats. You know, they didn't have the technology to go and conquer the world. That's why it was so easy for white people. Nah, hold up. These people are credited with the first language in Europe. Yeah. Not only are they accredited with the first language in Europe, yeah, they are the first seafaring people. They're going everywhere on boats and setting up trade routes all around the world. What are you talking about? They just didn't go and murder everything. They weren't Vikings, innit? Like, let's get it right. All right, let's get back into the video.
One which the English language is written in today.
So check that, the very alphabet that the English language is written in today. But hold on, they taught us everything. But hold on, they invented everything. Hold on, they civilized everyone. Hold up, this ain't making sense. This ain't making no sense. Let's go.
Praised by Homer and Herodotus as expert shipbuilders. In the Bible, the prophet...
All right, now hear what Herodotus has got to say now. Yeah, let's hear what Herodotus got to say, Carl. I did mention that earlier.
Ezekiel refers to them as merchants to the people of many coastlines. Later, they were even commandeered by the British Empire. And all manner of other bizarre theories, such as their involvement in the building of King Solomon's temple, have linked them to nationalist movements all across the continent.
But hold up, they said Solomon's temple weren't real. You can't find nobody in the Bible. You can't find that. It don't exist. Hold on, the archaeologists found it. What are you talking about? Let's keep going.
Yet, outside of myth, their very real story, often hamstrung by a total lack of their own contemporary sources, is one of the most fascinating of any in human history. Hundreds of years before the Greeks started their great outward expansion, this was arguably the first seafaring culture to span the entirety of the Mediterranean Sea and beyond. At first, for centuries, one with no competition to speak of.
So check that out. We ain't got to lie. The first seafaring people on the planet to expand the whole of the Mediterranean and beyond. And beyond, ladies and gentlemen. What more do you want? What do you want? Do you want you want a cookie with that? What do you want? You want a biscuit? What do you want? You want a ribbon? You want me to throw a ball so you can play fetch? Nah.
But who were these Phoenicians? And how did they manage to not only sail to the ends of the earth, At first, for centuries, one with no competition to speak of. But who were these Phoenicians?
Yeah, damn good question. Damn right, good question. Who were these Phoenicians? Can everyone see their screens? Yeah, because I had a discussion with these far right and or whatever you're the far left or whatever you want to call them, left wingers, racists and ethno brats, and they're telling me that these Phoenicians ain't black people. Please zoom your screen in. Tell me, does this look like black people or white people on this boat? Look at their hair. They're not wearing helmets, you know. That is hair. Look at them. Even look at the style of drawing. If I was to show you some Canaanite drawings, you'd say, wow, do you know what? It's the same style. What's going on here, people? What, these are white people, yeah? These are the ones who taught you language, though. These are the ones, yeah? These are this is what we got left of those people. Yeah, they destroyed their writings, but they couldn't destroy their afros. Look at that. Look at the little afros. Move yourself. Where are they going? And then they want to say foolishness like, what do they say? They say stuff like, we can't tell who those people were. We can't tell what they would have looked like. We can't tell what Cheddar Man would have looked like. We can't tell anything. Shut up. Shut up. No. Stop it. Stop lying. I can tell you what that looks like. That looked like a little group of black men, you know, in boats with oars. Yeah. Just like we hear about in history, just like we hear about in Egypt, just like we hear about with the ancient Americans. Yeah. With oars. Yeah. That looked like it's made out of a whole length of a tree. Yeah, with their little afros in the bowl, all of that. Like, where are we going, people? What are we doing here? Now the ethno brats and the racists can't shout over people. What power do they really have? Are we seeing the truth right before our eyes, or are we seeing lies? Talk to me. Like, what you think? Like, look at this, the side view as well. It's a side view. How are you going to tarnish these noses? How are you going to mash up these ones? You can't. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Yeah, come on. Like, hey, listen, we ain't playing with them. Yeah? So let's play a little bit more, then I'm going to skip to another timestamp.
And how did they manage to not only sail to the ends of the earth, thousands of kilometers across the dark waters of the Mediterranean?
Ends of the earth, you know. Yeah, I didn't say it. You heard him say it. How did they manage to sail to the ends of the earth? But black people didn't have boats. But black people didn't go nowhere. They didn't go nowhere. They didn't have the tools to conquer nobody. I wonder. Or maybe they just weren't murderous. Maybe that's what it was. What do you think, guys? Let's keep going.
Mediterranean Sea. But to link up all of its shores into an interconnected web of trading centres, long before anyone else attempted anything of the like.
Long before anyone else attempted anything of the like. Is that an invention? Did they invent that? Because black people don't invent nothing. They don't come up with no good ideas. They didn't help build civilization. It's all white people. It's all Aryan. You know, we civilized them. We taught them everything. They animals. You know, they Indians and animals and wild people and savages. You know, they savages. You know, really. Like, come on. Like, who teaches those people? I'd like to know, because they sound pretty savage. The information is definitely savage. You know, that when you're talking about they civilized everyone, the Aryan race civilized everybody, yeah? All right, here we go.
Well, let's find out.
All right, let's hit the next timestamp, because we ain't got a lot of time left, yeah? All right, next timestamp. We go from about...
In the early 1960s, archaeologists discovered the vestiges of an ancient cemetery near the resort town of Almunacar in Spain. At first, they thought they'd excavated the remains of early Greek colonists who had set up shop in the region. However, it soon became clear that the ceramics being uncovered here were from a place even further to the east than Greece. Their design was typical of those found in the Iron Age world of the ancient Near East, specifically the lands known in early antiquity as Canaan. In the decades that followed, several sites with similar artifacts were discovered not only throughout Spain, but in Morocco, Malta, Sardinia, Sicily, and even, as we have seen, as far away as Britain.
All right, so check all of the places that he said. Yeah? And check where these people are coming from Canaan. And they went where? They went all over. What, Spain, Italy, what? They went everywhere. Morocco, they was there. You know, we saw the Moroccan discovery earlier. Do you feel what I'm trying to say? Which is why I think when I was listening to what's his name again? Robin Walker, you know, he says Morocco is possibly, you know, the first place inhabited by humans. He didn't say definitely, he said possibly. Because we can see that people went to Morocco from other places, and you know, how long were they in those other places? This is where, you know, we can really get into the debate, but I'm not even going to go there right now. I'm going to keep going with the video because we ain't got a lot of time left.
The archaeologists concluded that the discovery of these Near Eastern ceramics, as well as the Canaanite writing often inscribed upon them, was no fluke, but confirmation that a group of people the Greeks called Phoenicians had settled en masse throughout the Mediterranean. Certainly by the 9th and 8th centuries BC, and possibly much earlier. There is a problem, however. There is no known instance of a Phoenician ever calling themselves a Phoenician, or any other collective term for their people. In their inscriptions...
So check that one out. There's no record of a Phoenician ever calling themselves a Phoenician or any other collective term. They were separate groups of black people working together. So you always hear these white people go, oh, the Africans, they're not civilized. Look, those tribes couldn't work together. When we came and colonized them, they couldn't work together. That's why it was so easy. Really? Is that what you think now? Let me show you something. I can show you historically black people working together side by side. Yeah? Building civilization, helping one another. Maybe they just weren't murderers. Maybe they just didn't want to see death. That wasn't something they was used to. Maybe that's the answer that we're looking for here. Let's go.
A scattering of which survive. They describe themselves in terms of their individual families and cities, not in terms of a common culture.
So like I said, they refer to themselves as individual families and cities, not as a common culture. So there was many cultures involved in that civilization. Multicultural. What? Tell me something. Who invented that? Multiculturalism. Is that a black invention? Let's go.
The archaeology speaks of this too. The city of Byblos, for example, looked more to Egypt than its neighbours. Sidon looked...
So, Byblos looked to Egypt. Sidon looked to Canaan. What's the next one?
...to Greece and Persia, whereas Tyre held close links with Judea and Jerusalem.
Judea and Jerusalem, which is also in the same region as Canaan. Yeah? So get your facts right. Yeah? They separated themselves into different cities because these ones over here, you know, they were Jerusalem. Yeah, Elamites and Israelites and those type of people. You know, over the other side, you know, we've got Canaanites and then we've got Egyptians all working together. Why would their city be facing those places otherwise? Think about it.
Yet, for the most part, besides a handful of references to a corpus of now lost books.
And check the thing, what the man said right from the beginning. This is a Semitic language. Move. Where you going? This is Semitic language. Move. You got these areas, took our area, and it comes from the steppes. You know, we made it on the step. What step? What you talking about? Your Aryan thing comes from Atlantis, bruv. It didn't come from steps. It come from water. What I'm talking about? Where do you? It never come from the step. It come from the water, from the ocean, Atlantic. Yes. Atlas. And then man there. You understand? So what's this foolishness? You understand? Let me hit the next timestamp quickly, because we don't even need to go all deep into this video, because everyone's got time. You can see the name of the video. You see what's going on. Go and, like, you know, get updated. That's what I'm saying. Get updated. And you know it's funny, man, because they so retarded. They say the dumbest things and think people are stupid enough to believe it and fall for it. But we're about to hit the next timestamp. So where we go in now? We go into... We're going to hit right here.
Southwards along the coast. But why did they call themselves Phoenicians?
Look again. Look again. Where's the long blonde? Where is it? I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going.
Well, we don't know that they did. In fact, they probably didn't. It's a Greek word often associated with a unique purple dye produced along the Levantine coast in ancient times.
Purple dye. Hold on. Are we getting into the colors of royalty? Wait a second. Hold up. Pause. Everyone, get your thinking cap on a second. You know, these people are referring to these people as Phoenicians in reference to a purple dye. Why? Because they're purple dye and they can make purple clothes, which no one else weren't really making, because these were seen as royal colors. They didn't have them kind of colors. What are you talking about? Go do your research. Going back into the video. Let's go.
A dye extracted from the murex sea snail, which would later be associated with royalty, even down to our age today. Initially, due to the monumental efforts required to produce it.
What we talking about here? What we doing here, guys? What we doing here?
By the 4th century BC, Greek writer Theopompus sings the praises of this dye, claiming it to be worth its weight in silver. It's clear from its adoption by royal elites that this was a highly prized resource and extremely expensive.
Purple
cultivated
pink.
from around 1500 BC onwards. Perhaps in part an explanation for the success of the Phoenicians. A single vat required the harvesting of tens of thousands of sea snails, living only in Phoenician waters.
We done here? We done here? No, we ain't done. We ain't never done. But you know what? We got to finish somewhere. So watch this. Let's hit the next timestamp.
Who would have the longest and most lasting influence on Phoenicia. Between the 16th to the 13th centuries BC, the pharaohs of Egypt's new kingdom reigned nearly uncontested in most of Canaan, including the area that would later become known as Phoenicia. However, things drastically changed in the 12th century BC, when groups of migrants and marauders, collectively known as the Sea Peoples, showed up along the shores of the empires and kingdoms of the Eastern Mediterranean. No one knows exactly what happened and why they had left their homes. But one thing is clear.
Sea Peoples. Now let's have a look. Do we see a difference? Look, we can see down the bottom of this picture, we can see the Egyptian looking headdress and all of that. So we know these ones down the bottom here are Egyptian. But this guy who's getting stabbed here with the I don't even know what to call that. It looked like a Roman, you know, that thing that they wear on their head. I don't know, man. What is that? You know, that look like a punk rocker high top. You know, like, what am I supposed to do with this, guys? What we doing here? Look down here. Can you see this guy with the helmet? Yeah, do you notice the difference between these guys on the boats and the Phoenicians on the boats? These guys here, you know, we can see the difference in the way it's drawn. We can see the difference in the look of the face. And the helmet's got horns on it. We can see the difference in the hair, you know, swords and shields and all of that. You know, what are we doing here? Where are we going with this? Like, what's really going on here? You know? Like, come on, man. Like, let's be honest about this. You know, who are these people? Who are these sea people? Do they look like black people to you? I'm going to keep going with the video.
The world after their arrival would never be the same. I actually just made a 2.5-hour effort to...
The world after they arrive will never be the same. Yeah, I wanted you to hear that last quote before I move on. Car, you have to understand, this is that, like, I couldn't make this stuff up. You know, like that. This guy did a great job. So we're gonna hit 2 more timestamps and we out. Where's the next one at? Oh, there we go. All right, we're somewhere around here. All right, let's hit it.
Carthage. It's a name that rings out in history. For centuries, the focal point of the Mediterranean. The
focal point of the Mediterranean. Everyone get your dictionary out. Let's look up the word focal and point together. Yeah, and you know, let's find out, what do those words mean? What do they mean in sentence? What is the focal point? Yeah, if you don't know already, that is. If you know already, don't worry about it. Let's get it.
Most successful by far of all the Phoenician cities, and according to many, founder of Europe's first empire.
Wait a second. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let me put some truth up in this. Did he just say the founders of the first European empire? Well, who? The Phoenicians? What, black people? Talk to me. Am I confused? Should we rewind it back a little bit? I tell you what, let's rewind it back and make sure we ain't confused. Because maybe I was just confused and, you know, I'm just hearing things.
The founder of Europe's first empire.
Woo! First empire. Maybe I used the wrong word, but that's still impressive. Founder of Europe's first empire. All right, let's put some truth up in this. Yeah. Do you think they can prove this guy wrong? I doubt it. Let's go.
Yet, the story of Carthage is a tragic one. Almost always framed by its total defeat by Rome in the Punic Wars. Vicious world conflicts fought for dominion over the waterways of the Mediterranean.
The Punic Wars, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what you need to be knowing. That's what you need to be knowing about. When you're knowing about history, that's the stuff they didn't teach you in school. The Punic Wars, ladies and gentlemen, what's it all about? Yeah, it's all about Carthaginians and Phoenicians. Yeah, it gets sticky out here. It gets mucky. Let's go.
Massive sea battles, numbering tens of thousands on each side. Numbers that arguably wouldn't be surpassed until modern naval warfare, nearly 2,000 years later.
Numbers that wouldn't be surpassed until modern naval warfare, nearly 2,000 years later. Does history repeat itself? I don't think so. Maybe people are just trying to repeat history. Maybe people see the benefits in war because it happened before, but they don't want to tell you that. They tell you about World War I, World War II. They don't tell you about the Punic Wars like that. You need to go to some deep levels of history to get there. Maybe you need to go to university to learn about some of this stuff. I don't know. All I know is, you know, I was listening and I was looking and I was reading and I was searching. I was watching videos. I was listening to audio books. you know, and I came across some stuff. Let's go.
For Carthage, a defeat so complete and brutal that this once mighty confederation was not only silenced forever, but its once verdant fields salted, its population killed or sold into slavery.
Wait a second. Hold up. Wait a minute. Population killed or sold into slavery. Land salted. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Think about this. Yeah, think about Africa. Think about America. Think about these places. Think about what happened to the people. Think about it. Pause. Then think about what the guy said earlier. You know, these people, they look like aboriginals. Yeah. That's what he said, didn't he? Yeah. In the previous video. Yeah. Don't remember that. Yeah. All right. Cool. So he also points out in that same video, if you go and watch the whole thing, Robin Walker, that the people of America had the same look. And guess what? Those people, the ones in America, the ones in Australia, the ones that were in England, the ones that were in Sweden also, guess what? They came from Africa. Oh, Lord have mercy. And guess what? They're all the same people. They're all from the same stock. I don't care about DNA mutation. I don't care if you got L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. They're all L's. I don't care. I'm not interested no more. I'm done with the foolishness. Let's get the truth. Do you understand? Taken into slavery. Yeah? Wait a second. History. Historically. You know, Canaanites, Israelites, Phoenicians, like this is crazy stuff. This is crazy stuff. But we're gonna get the last timestamp, and then we're gonna make a conclusion. Because I got a dust out of it as well. I got things to do. I'm sure you guys got things to do. It's been long enough already. Yeah. So let's just get this last timestamp, and then you guys make sure you go back and watch the full video. Because that's when you're really going to get the juice. You need to get the full thing. You know, don't just be listening to the bit I played you.
Also crediting them for introducing the alphabetic script to the Greek-speaking world. In his monumental work, The Histories, he writes, though Homer mentioned ancestors had been amongst the founders of Carthage, and links between the two cities remained strong. It's also during the years of Persian rule, as well as afterward, that many Greek writers and historians took an especially keen interest in the Phoenicians. Though Homer mentions them in the Iliad, Herodotus is the first major writer to extensively comment.
You notice when the Greeks depict these Phoenicians, and you notice the look of them on them shields. You notice they don't look like the ones that was in the boats no more. So we know what Greeks do. We know what these people do. So why hide it? Why act like we don't know that's what they're going to do? They're going to whitewash everything. We know what Romans do. We know what they do. They write themselves into the story and call it Superman. I don't know how else to explain it. You heard it earlier. The guy was calling him Superman. Remember Atlas? They was the same video I played you about the Aryans. With the Aryan guy, the German guy talking about how you look like Superman. You know, like that. Like, come on, man. Like, let's really get this, man.
Comment on them and give substantial details about their culture and customs. Also,
let's go back. Look at the shield. Look at the shield. Look at the hat that they're wearing. Does this look like what we saw in the boats? I don't know. I don't know, mate. I don't know. Maybe it looks a bit more like a Persian. Maybe they just started remixing Persians into the Phoenicians to make them feel good about themselves. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Though Homer mentions them in the Iliad, Herodotus is the first major writer to extensively comment on them and give substantial details about their culture and customs. also crediting them for introducing the alphabetic script to the Greek-speaking world. In his monumental work, The Histories, he writes the following. So these Phoenicians, including the Gephraians, came with Cadmos and settled this land. And they transmitted much lore to the Hellenes, and in particular taught them the alphabet, which I believe the Hellenes did not have previously, but which was originally used by all Phoenicians. With the passage of time, both the sound and the shape of the letters changed, because at this time it was mostly Ionians who lived around the Phoenicians. They were the ones who were first instructed in the use of the alphabet by them.
Yeah, sorry about that, people. I had to take a brief pause there just to. Whew, it was a lot to take in, man. Like, I'm not gonna do questions right now. You know, I hope everyone was listening. It's been nice sitting with you, talking with you. But I think I'm done. Like, I ain't got no more to show you tonight. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to jump on the next show. But know that there's no swearing, there's no bad language at all, there's no arguing, sensible stuff, sensible questions. We can get this. We can find the information if we ain't got it. You know, we can keep it sensible over here. So, you know, I hope that everyone out there is being sensible too. And, you know, you're sensible listeners and you're engaging. You know, you're not just there trying to score points, because this ain't a point scoring exercise. This is facts. Where you going to run to with this? You're going to tell me about Aryan again. You're going to tell me about Atlantis. Because hold on, you can bring up your scholar Homer, you know, who talks all of this foolishness about Atlantis. But hold on, you know, when I go to ones like Herodotus, we can see the artifacts that go with the scholarship. Yeah, I'm out.